My friends, hold your hearts, because what we just witnessed in Minneapolis wasn't just a win, it was a statement. After weeks of doubt, criticism, and pressure coming from every direction, this team went on the road carrying the weight of 2 straight losses and showed everyone what it means to wear this green. It was heart, it was attitude, it was leadership, the kind of performance that reminds you why this city believes, why this fan base never backs down. Every pass, every route, every play seemed to scream, "We're still here. We're still Philadelphia." And the best part? It was a complete game. Offense, defense, and fire in every single snap. The adjustments were sharp, the execution was flawless, and the result? A performance that reignited the spark of the season. Now I want to hear from you. Green Nation, was this the turning point? The moment this team rediscovered its identity? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. And of course, if you believe in this team, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help spread that Philly energy everywhere, because the best is yet to come. Fly, Eagles, fly. What a win for Philadelphia. Not just a victory on the field, but a statement from a team that had been questioned, doubted, and under fire for weeks. The Eagles walked into Minneapolis with the weight of 2 straight losses on their shoulders, the city buzzing with frustration and anxiety, and walked out with a resounding answer. This team still has heart, still has fight, and still has one of the best quarterbacks in football. Jalen Hurts didn't just silence the critics on Sunday. He commanded the entire narrative back into his hands. For 6 weeks, the same question hung over the season like a dark cloud. Could the Eagles finally play a complete football game? 4 quarters of clean, efficient, dominant football. Against a top-tier Minnesota defense led by Brian Flores, they finally did. Hurts looked like the quarterback who once lifted a Lombardi trophy for this city. Calm, decisive, and absolutely ruthless through the air. It wasn't just about the numbers, though those were eye-popping. 19 of 23 for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a perfect passer rating. It was about timing, command, and confidence. This was a masterclass in leadership, the kind of performance that reminds you why Philadelphia believes in this guy. And the timing couldn't have been more crucial. A loss in Minneapolis would have sent this team spiraling into a 3-game skid, possibly triggering panic across the organization. It would have been another week of talk radio meltdowns and locker room tension. Instead, Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and Kevin Patullo orchestrated a game plan that finally unleashed the offense's full potential. The tweaks were subtle but brilliant. More pre-snap motion, more under-center looks, more play action that froze defenders just long enough for DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown to do
what they do best: punish single coverage. Hurts, who reportedly asked Sirianni midweek to install more under-center play action, showed complete command of the offense. The result? A perfect 4 for 4 from those formations for 121 yards, including that breathtaking 79-yard bomb to DeVonta Smith, a play that wasn't just drawn up. It was earned through communication, observation, and trust. Smith had noticed Minnesota's safeties biting on the run all game and went straight to the coaches. That shot's going to be there. He was right. Hurts sold the fake. The line held, and Smith ran past the coverage like a whisper in the wind. The connection was flawless, pure football poetry. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown, who had voiced his frustration about the offense in recent weeks, backed up his words with one of his most explosive performances of the year. 4 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, every grab a reminder of his physical dominance. He played angry, emotional, and absolutely electric. You could feel the release of weeks of tension when he fired that football into the stands after his second touchdown, screaming into the camera as if to say, "We're back." DeVonta Smith wasn't far behind, 9 catches, 183 yards, and a score of his own. Together, they reminded everyone why they're still the most dangerous wide receiver duo in football. But this win wasn't just about offense. The defense, too, showed grit and resilience when it mattered most. Vic Fangio's unit bent but didn't break, holding the Vikings to field goals on critical red zone possessions. The young corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Dean, played beyond their years. Mitchell, coming off a shaky game and nursing a hamstring injury, locked down Justin Jefferson, holding him to just 1 catch on 3 targets for 10 yards. Think about that, one of the top 2 receivers in football, neutralized by a rookie. That's the kind of performance that builds legends in this city. And Cooper Dean? That red zone breakup on a fade to Jefferson was massive, textbook positioning, perfect timing, and sheer will. Plays like that change outcomes. Plays like that make defensive coordinators sleep better on Sunday nights. And how about Jalen Carter? His hit on Carson Wentz that led to Jay Hunt's pick six was a snapshot of what this defensive line can still be: violent, disruptive, and opportunistic. Carter blew up the pocket. Wentz never saw Hunt dropping back, and suddenly the Eagles were up with momentum surging through every sideline huddle. This is what the fan base had been waiting for: stars playing like stars, adjustments being made, execution meeting talent. The offensive line finally found rhythm, even with Lane Johnson working through a few tough series. The defensive front bullied Minnesota's protection schemes, and the coaching staff, under heavy fire the last few weeks, showed flexibility that had been missing since week one. Sirianni and Patullo didn't overcomplicate things. They trusted their leaders, gave Hurts control, and let playmakers make plays. Yet, even in the glow of victory, the reality remains that this team still has flaws to address. The run game continues to lag. Saquon Barkley hasn't cracked 100 all-purpose yards in a game this season, and the balance between ground and air remains shaky. Route concepts are improving but still inconsistent. The offense has the firepower to dominate, but consistency, that's the next test. Can they sustain this kind of rhythm? Can they play with this urgency every week, not just when their backs are against the wall? That's what makes this moment so fascinating, because this didn't just feel like another win, it felt like a turning point, the kind that can ignite a locker room, unify a coaching staff, and reawaken a fan base that was starting to lose patience. You could feel it in Hurts' post-game words, in the way players embraced on the field, in the calm confidence on Sirianni's face. The Eagles remembered who they are, because now, the real test begins. One great performance can silence critics for a week, but Philadelphia doesn't measure greatness in moments, it measures it in consistency. This city's built on accountability, and the fans know the difference between a statement win and a temporary high. Jalen Hurts understands that as well as anyone. After all, when you've already been a Super Bowl MVP, when you've outdueled Patrick Mahomes twice on the biggest stage, the standard isn't good, it's greatness, every Sunday. And that's what makes this next stretch so critical. The Eagles can't afford to slip back into old habits. For all the energy and precision they showed against Minnesota, the truth is that the offense still hasn't found a steady rhythm on the ground. Saquon Barkley's production remains limited, not because of effort, but because of design. There are gaps in run blocking, missed lanes, and too many plays that rely on Hurts' improvisation. Philadelphia's offense thrives when it dictates tempo, when it physically wears opponents down, and lately, that identity has been missing. Sunday was a step toward rediscovering it, but not the destination. Still, you can't overlook what Hurts did in that pocket. His poise under pressure, his ability to scan and deliver, his willingness to stand tall and fire with anticipation, that was vintage. The kind of quarterback play that lifts everyone else. And what you saw from the receivers was trust in him, trust in the scheme, and trust in themselves. When Smith told the staff that the deep shot would be open, it wasn't arrogance, it was awareness. That's a sign of a team starting to communicate at a high level again, something that's been missing since the early weeks. Defensively, there's something brewing too. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Dean look like the future of this secondary. They play with confidence, swagger, and discipline, the kind of traits Philadelphia has desperately needed since the old days of Asante Samuel. Mitchell's one-on-one work against Jefferson wasn't just impressive, it was a statement that the next generation of Eagles defenders is ready to carry the torch. And when you mix that with Jalen Carter's dominance up front, this defense starts to feel like it's got teeth again. Carter's hit on Wentz that triggered the Jay Hunt interception might go down as the play that flipped the momentum of the entire game, and maybe even the season. It symbolized everything this defense wants to be: violent at the point of attack, unpredictable in coverage, and opportunistic when it matters most. Fangio's scheme finally clicked. The young guys made plays, and suddenly the entire unit looked alive. Now, as the team prepares for the Giants at home, the conversation in Philadelphia is shifting from panic to possibility, and not just because of the win, but because of what might be coming next. Reports are swirling that Brandon Graham, the legendary edge rusher who retired after last season's Super Bowl run, could be on his way back to the locker room. Multiple insiders, including John Clark, Adam Schefter, and Jay Glazer, have all pointed to the same thing. Graham has been training, staying in shape, and talking with the Eagles front office for weeks about a potential return. If it happens, it would be one of the most emotional homecomings in recent memory. Graham isn't just another player, he's the heartbeat of this franchise, the man responsible for the most iconic defensive play in team history, that strip sack of Tom Brady in Super Bowl 52. 15 seasons, 2 rings, countless memories. And yet, even at 37, it's not hard to see why Philadelphia would want him back. Before his triceps injury last year, he was still productive, 20 pressures, 4 sacks, and one of the highest run defense grades on the team. And here's the thing, they don't need him to play 60 snaps a game. They just need 15 or 20 meaningful ones, the kind that bring leadership, toughness, and situational awareness. Graham knows this system inside out. Vic Fangio already respects his game, and the locker room still reveres him as a leader. Bringing him back wouldn't just add depth, it would reignite the emotional core of this defense. You could already picture it, Graham in midnight green again, coming off the edge, smiling that infectious smile, firing up the crowd at Lincoln Financial Field. Of course, the question remains, should he come back? There's risk in rewriting a perfect ending. He walked away a champion, with his legacy sealed and his body mostly intact. To return now, even for one last run, means opening the door to the same brutal reality that claimed so many greats before him. But maybe that's what makes him so Philadelphia, the willingness to fight one more round when the easy thing would be to rest on the glory already earned. And from a football standpoint, the fit makes sense. With Zadarius Smith retired and the edge rotation thin, the Eagles could use his burst, even in a limited role. He wouldn't just be depth, he'd be insurance, energy, and experience all rolled into one. And let's be honest, there's something poetic about the idea of Graham, the longest tenured Eagle in history, coming back to chase one final run with Hurts, Sirianni, and this core group. Howie Roseman has always believed in bringing veterans home at the right time, especially those who know the culture and understand what it means to play in this city. The move would fit everything Philadelphia stands for: loyalty, grit, and unfinished business. Reports suggest the decision could come as early as this week, with Graham possibly suiting up for the Giants game at the LINQ. So here we are again, standing on the edge of another turning point in this season, the team finding rhythm, the defense regaining its bite, and maybe, just maybe, one of the franchise's all-time greats preparing to write his final chapter. What do you think, Eagles fans? Should Brandon Graham come back for one more run, or stay retired and preserve the perfect ending?